I find that people get better quicker if they understand what chiropractic is and how it works. So I want to take a minute to explain that to you. Oftentimes people think chiropractic is just about back pain or a neck pain, but the reality of the situation is chiropractic's been around since 1895. The first patient was deaf. He had his neck adjusted and his hearing was restored. At this point, they thought that they had cured deafness. All these people with hearing issues start traveling to Davenport, Iowa, and not getting their hearing back. The second patient's hearing was never restored, but his heart condition resolved. So instead, what they realized is there's a direct correlation between how your spine is lined up and how your body works, because ultimately your brain is telling your body what to do. With that, they realized there's basically the best doctor in the world inside of you. In some arenas, that could be a God or a chi or flow or whatever that would be. But in chiropractic, we call that innate intelligence. And it's basically this innate intelligence that is running your body from conception through your entire life. It's telling every part of your body what to do. So if you think about it, at some point, all of our profiles were a sperm and an egg, and give or take 280 days later, we're born. With our eyelashes on our eyes, our fingernails on our fingers, the first thing that a baby does often at birth is to cry. That's to clear their lungs. They don't have to be told to do that. Innately, that's what happens. Same thing, our blood pressure knows when to go up or when to go down. We don't have to tell our body when to breathe. We don't have to say, hey body, take this apple that I ate today for lunch and turn it into energy. It automatically does that. That's part of your innate intelligence. If you cut your finger today, with or without a cool band-aid, it's going to heal. If you break your arm and you're on a deserted island, it's going to grow new bone. The bone might not look pretty, it could go this way or go that way, but it will grow new bone. This is innate intelligence, and this is that we are working with, that brain to body connection. So how do we go from being these great healers to a society that is really actually pretty unhealthy at this point? The way that I see that is it's a lack of ability to adapt to stress. So we are constantly being bombarded with physical, chemical, and emotional stresses. When we have too many of those stresses, our nervous system starts to short circuit. We call that subluxation. Basically, misalignment in your spine interfering with your innate intelligence ability to travel from your brain to your body and do what it's supposed to be doing. If we look at these physical, chemical, and emotional stresses, the first physical stress is the birth process. It is a lot of work for a baby to get here. There is a ton of pressure put on their neck during the birth process. Then a baby's gonna fall about 25 times a day learning how to walk. They're gonna fall off of their bikes, they're gonna jump on their beds, they're gonna fight with their siblings. We could get in a car accident, whatever the case may be. Then we have emotional stress. Our children have emotional stress too. Then they're taking tests when they get to school, or they're fighting, or they're hearing their parents fighting. Our adults have stress. There's jobs and bills and gas and whatever it might be. And then there's chemical stress. Chemical stress is anything that we put into our body that your body doesn't make. Your innate is smart. It's going after that. It's foreign invader. Let me go after that. So we're short-circuiting our nervous system. If we think of our nervous system like a circuit breaker panel in your house, there's different switches that go to your kitchen, your bathroom, your dining room, and then there's the big switch at the top that shuts down your whole house. Our body is very similar. Our big switch at the top is the top two bones in our neck, C1 and C2, our atlas and our axis. They surround your brainstem. Your brainstem is basically your body's built-in pharmacy. This is where hormone regulation and chemistry regulation comes from. The concept of a medication is if your body's not making enough, let's call it stomach acid, we can give you something to make more or to make less, right? But innately, we can do that when our bodies are working the way that it's supposed to without a side effect. What we do in our offices to remove subluxation is an adjustment. We only call it an adjustment. We don't call it a pop. We don't call it a crack. We don't call it a snap. We take care of a lot of babies here. Nobody wants their babies being popped and cracked and snapped, but also because the word itself is really cool. So if you break down the word adjustment, add 2 + 2, more. Just is balance, and ment comes from mind or mental. So to create a more balanced mind. That is where the cool things happen in our offices. That's why we see things like people's anxieties and ADDs, ADHDs, they're sleeping better, because we can take people out of this sympathetic overload, this stressed out state, and put them into that rest and digest so that they can start to heal the way that they're supposed to. That being said, are all pains necessarily bad or not so smart of your body? So for example, a fever, is that smart of your innate intelligence or not so smart? Good or bad? I think of it as it's a good thing. We would never wash our super dirty dishes or our super gross clothes in cold water. We put it in hot water so that we can burn out all of the cooties. Your body also is smart. It raises up that temperature to burn out the cooties. In society, first thing we want to do is take something to suppress that. But ultimately what that's doing is keeping that lingering in there instead of letting your body get rid of it once and for all. What about vomiting or diarrhea? You ate a bad piece of fish last night. It's coming out of you. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Healthy thing or not so healthy? I look at it as it's a healthy thing. You're getting that out of your body as fast as possible. If that stayed in your body, it could long-term create a bigger problem. Then the tricky one for a lot of people to kind of wrap their brain around would be pain. Is it good or bad, smart of your body, not so smart of your body? I personally think it serves a purpose for sure. So if I didn't have the ability to feel pain and I touch a hot stove, I'm not gonna pull my hand back, which can ultimately cause a lot of damage. If I'm an athlete who gets hurt on the field or the court this week and I take a bunch of stuff to cover up that pain and I go and I play, I could be creating much more damage in the long term. So covering up a pain is also not good. And using pain as a fire alarm could be good. It could get our attention, it could stop us. But using it as like a timer to bake your brownies is a terrible idea. So waiting until we have pain is really not the best way to look at our health. In our offices, we look at it more based on how are you functioning. So as you start to get adjusted, we're not going to be talking about how does this feel or how does this feel, but instead we're going to be how is your nervous system as a whole functioning. When we get you kind of coming out of that sympathetic and into that rest and digest, most people are noticing that they are sleeping better, their mind is more calm, they're breathing better, and they're digesting better. Those are kinds of the first things. And while you might have your to-do list of my shoulder or my neck or my hip or whatever the case may be, given enough time and a system clear enough of interference, anything can heal. We've seen amazing healings going on here. So I tell people to kind of keep an open mind and see just ultimately the changes that are happening versus your specific to-do list. I am definitely one of these cases. I was a medicine cabinet, typical health history child. I was very, very sick. I had a ton of ear infections, which led to a lot of antibiotics. When I got to elementary school, I had a lot of strep throat, which led to a lot more antibiotics. By the time I got to middle school, I had headaches all of the time, which led to all of the over-the-counter painkillers. And by high school, my stomach was really destroyed. You can only put so much stuff in before you're really destroying that. And by the time I ended high school and got to college, my immune system was toast. So if something was going around, I got it longer than everybody else. I got it worse than everybody else. Fortunately, I started getting adjusted the end of my freshman year in college. So I was 19 years old. I started getting adjusted and literally my entire health changed at that point. I remember the first day that I woke up without headaches. I remember the first time that I could start to eat at a place and not be scared of what was going to happen. And I remember the first time that I wasn't getting sick when all of my roommates were getting sick because my body started to work the way that it was supposed to. If it can happen for me, it can happen for you. We're here to help you to heal and to thrive.